When you think about a time traveler altering the past, the focus is almost always on these grand, sweeping changes.
Right, like stopping an assassination or averting a war.
Exactly. But there's a glaring, immediate mechanical reality that, well, usually gets totally ignored.
Oh, definitely.
If you drop a 2-ton, heavily modified 1997 Land Rover Discovery into Victorian London, the primary challenge isn't just hiding it.
No, the challenge is feeding it.
Yes. So welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today is parsing through this massive stack of author notes, chapter summaries, and manuscript drafts for the upcoming release of Reach for the Stars.
Which is the highly anticipated third book in the Badger Federation Chronicles.
Right. And for anyone new to this specific timeline, just to catch you up, the premise starts in 2025.
Yeah.
The world is at DEFCON 1, inches away from nuclear annihilation.
Literally right on the brink.
Yeah. And our protagonist, Alex Morrison, he uses a chronograph to jump back to 1878.
And he doesn't go alone. He brings along a highly advanced, very grumpy Scottish-voiced AI named Charles.
I love Charles. Whoa. And of course, that 1997 Land Rover.
Right.
His goal is to short-circuit the arms races that lead to the world wars. But by the time we reach the notes for Book 3, it is 1938.
And the world wars never happened.
Exactly. Instead, we have the Badger Federation. It's this technologically dominant democratic alliance of the UK, Germany, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and an independent India.
It's a universe that really forces you to look at the granular engineering behind alternate history. The world building in these drafts bridges the gap between, a covert survival mission in the 1800s and a solar system spanning civilization in the 1930s.
Which is wild. But before we dig into the space travel aspect in 1938, I'm going to go back to that mechanical reality of the early years.
The Land Rover.
Yeah, the Land Rover. Because it has a diesel engine. In 1878, Rudolf Diesel hasn't even patented his engine yet.
Let alone established a global supply chain for modern diesel fuel.
Right. So as a reader, my immediate thought was that Alex would just have to improvise, like, I don't know, render down whale blubber or use tallow just to keep the pistons moving before Mr. Diesel comes along.
Oh, man. Okay, so the author's notes dedicate an entire section specifically to forbidding that exact line of thinking.
Wait, really?
Oh, yeah. It is rigidly defined as the Land Rover Fuel Doctrine.
The Land Rover Fuel Doctrine.
Yes. Alex absolutely cannot use whale oil, tallow, or, any improvised animal fat. It's strictly prohibited in the lore.
But, I mean, that seems overly restrictive for a survival scenario. If you need the vehicle to escape, you burn whatever combustible material you can find.
Well, you might burn it once, but then your vehicle becomes a 2-ton paperweight.
Oh.
Yeah, from a purely mechanical standpoint, injecting unrefined whale oil into a 1997 combustion system would immediately foul the modern fuel injectors.
Because it's too thick.
Exactly. The viscosity is wrong, the burn temperature is wrong, and the carbon buildup would just destroy the engine block.
That makes sense.
And beyond the mechanics, the AI, Charles, calculates the operational security risk. Combusting whale oil or tallow emits this highly distinctive, super noxious odor.
Oh, right. It would smell terrible.
Yeah, it would draw immediate scrutiny in Victorian London. You do not want to attract attention when you're a time traveler hiding a futuristic car.
So, okay, how does a modern vehicle operate for decades before the invention of its own fuel?
Paraffin.
Just paraffin.
Just paraffin. The internal lore establishes this incredibly complex logistical shadow game. Lady Eleanor, who is one of Alex's key Victorian allies, she uses her wealth to set up a whole network of fake shell companies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they stockpile refined paraffin in hidden caches all across Europe, and they mask the shipments under deliberately boring bureaucratic labels like industrial grease.
I love that. It turns a standard time travel trope into this gritty study of supply chain logistics.
Right.
You don't just get to drive around the past, you actually have to build the hidden infrastructure to support the anomaly.
And the author uses that logistical grounding as the foundation for how the Federation eventually handles global geopolitics.
Which is the perfect transition. Let's follow that thread into Book 3.
Let's do it.
So, by 1938, the Federation isn't hiding paraffin in warehouses anymore. They possess a level of technology that essentially makes them aliens on their own planet.
Pretty much.
And they are quietly preparing to expand into the solar system. But they still have to share the globe with non-Federation nations, most notably the United States.
Which is a huge point of tension.
Right. So how do you manage a superpower that is just starting to realize it's no longer the biggest kid on the playground without starting a war?
Well, the opening scene of the third book addresses this perfectly. It's a demonstration of absolute, unassailable technical dominance.
Set the scene for us.
So it's September 30th, 1938. The American battleship USS Resolute enters Federation waters in the North Atlantic.
Just a casual stroll into their territory.
Right. Captain Harriman is attempting to project strength, what the author's notes call showing the flag.
Typical posturing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He transmits a heavily encrypted Morse code message, basically signaling that the Americans are willing to engage if they're challenged.
And the Federation, they don't respond by sending a larger dreadnought to intercept them, do they?
Nope. They send a flock of crystalline drones.
It's just a swarm of drones against a battleship.
Yes. And they swarm the forward steel turret of the American battleship. But they don't fire weapons. They don't deploy explosives.
What do they do?
Using what the notes describe as molecular reorganization, the crystalline tech physically interfaces with the battleship's hull.
Wow.
Yeah, it forces the carbon structure of the steel armor to physically shift and discolor, permanently etching a message directly into the metal of the turret.
And this ties into the American Navy's whole identity, right?
Yeah.
They operate under the motto that they are second to none.
Right. So the drones alter the steel to read, "To those who think they are second to none, we are none."
That is such a flex.
It is. And then a cloaked Federation ship, literally named None, simply decloaks out of thin air right next to the battleship.
I love it.
And they just invite the captain over for coffee.
It's brilliant. It's like showing someone a martial arts move or like a magic trick, where not only is the deck of cards stacked, but the cards themselves change suit in your hands.
Exactly.
You suddenly realize the basic rules of physics you thought applied to the fight just don't exist anymore.
A better way to frame it, actually, is showing a master lockpicker that you don't even use doors. The Federation isn't playing the same geopolitical game.
Not at all.
So Captain Harriman boards a ship that runs silently on crystalline technology. It's operated by a diverse crew speaking common English. There's no coal dust, no massive artillery cannons.
Just clean, futuristic dominance.
The psychological impact on the Americans is profound. They realize they are entirely outmatched militarily, but they're being offered an alliance rather than subjugation.
And this brings us to the core of the Federation space program. The Americans are invited to collaborate, but they aren't given access to the most advanced technology right away.
No, definitely not.
To understand why, we have to look at the testing facility out in the Australian desert, Woomera.
Right.
The culture at Woomera is governed by a philosophy that is intensely, almost brutally unforgiving.
Yes. The notes refer to it as the Woomera Doctrine, and it's encapsulated in a single, rigid operating principle.
What's the quote?
Evidence gets a vote, schedules do not, politics does not, machines do not.
That is so hardcore.
It really is. And the facility is currently testing the soap drive, which is the Federation's primary propulsion system for interplanetary travel.
Right, and the mechanics of the soap drive are fascinating because it doesn't rely on chemical combustion,
No, it generates a localized inertial bubble that manipulates gravity.
allowing the ship to accelerate at speeds that basically mock standard physics.
Right. But that acceleration comes with a massive biological cost, which we see during the tests with a subject named Charlie 1.
Oh, Charlie 1. This part of the notes was terrifying.
Yeah, so Charlie 1 is an instrumented test body. Not a mascot, but a highly sophisticated physical crash test dummy.
Like a modern crash dummy.
Way more advanced. It's engineered to replicate human biology down to the fluid dynamics of organs, bone density, and the spinal column.
Okay, so what happens in the test?
The notes detail a specific test launch of the soap drive. On the external cameras, the launch is flawless. The test cradle lifts off, executes its maneuvers, and lands without a single spark or explosion.
So it looks perfect.
Right. The politicians observing the test are ready to pop champagne and declare it a triumph.
But the medical officer, Dr. Haldane, reviews the internal telemetry from Charlie 1.
And he categorizes it as a fatal equivalent failure.
Wait, how is it a failure if the ship is fine?
The discrepancy lies in something the notes call propagation delay.
Propagation delay.
Yeah. The soap drive executed a microsecond trajectory correction mid-flight. The rigid steel frame of the ship adjusted instantly.
Right.
However, human biology possesses fluid inertia. The tissue, blood, and organs inside a human body do not move at the exact same microsecond interval as a titanium hull.
Oh, wow. So the skeleton is forced into the new trajectory, while the internal organs are still basically stationary.
Exactly. The internal sensors of Charlie 1 registered that the dummy's organs would have effectively slammed into its own rib cage at lethal velocity.
That is horrifying.
A human pilot would have been instantly crushed from the inside out, even though the ship appeared perfectly intact on the outside.
I mean, I understand the mechanical challenge, but I honestly struggle with the methodology here.
How so?
By 1938, the Federation has access to hyper-advanced artificial intelligence. Why build physical, grueling dummies with fake organs?
You're wondering why the AI couldn't just simulate it.
Exactly. A sufficiently advanced AI could run 1,000,000 fluid dynamics simulations in a matter of seconds. It could give them the exact mathematical probability of that propagation delay causing lethal trauma. Why build a physical dummy?
The author's notes tackle that exact question through what the Woomera engineers call the adult realism doctrine.
Okay, what is that?
The physical dummies are not primarily for data collection. They are for psychological enforcement.
Psychological enforcement.
Yeah. Imagine you are a visiting American industrialist or a Federation politician. If an AI hands you a printed spreadsheet stating a 99% probability of lethal internal trauma, human nature often interprets that as a margin of error.
Oh, I see. You might argue the schedule is tight, the geopolitical pressure is high, maybe the math is just being overly cautious.
Exactly, you negotiate with math. But if you force that same politician to stand in the inspection bay,
Oh, wow.
right, you force them to look at a physical warped titanium spine and ruptured sensor sacs mimicking a human heart.
It makes it real. It eradicates the abstraction of a spreadsheet.
Yes. The adult realism doctrine dictates that progress must be measured in safe, undeniable increments. The evidence gets a vote, and the evidence must be visceral enough to stop a politician from rushing a launch date.
And the Woomera doctrine mandates that machines always take the risk first.
Always.
But this philosophy creates a really chilling scenario when we examine the actual technology ladder the Federation is building to conquer the solar system.
Oh, yeah. The Federation's approach to deep space is tiered.
Right.
The first tier is the soap drive, which solves the problem of acceleration, provided they can perfect those inertial damping fields to protect biological crews.
And the second tier is the mesh.
Right, the mesh. It's a network of crystalline relays distributed across the solar system to solve the problem of communication and isolation.
Which brings us to the third tier, the time warp drive.
Yes. And the notes are very careful to clarify that this isn't like a time machine for human tourism.
It's not about going back to see the dinosaurs.
No, not at all. The time warp drive is a spatial bypass mechanism. It doesn't push mass through the physical void of space.
So how does it work?
It isolates a physical object from its spatial dimensions, anchors it to a specific chronological coordinate, and then reconnects it to space-time at a newly updated physical location.
You essentially delete the distance between origin and destination for a fraction of a second.
Exactly. You bypass the travel entirely.
The notes describe the first successful test of this drive at Woomera using just a 12-kilogram steel cylinder.
Yeah, they target a location called Range 7.
And there's no flash of light, right?
Yeah.
No sonic boom.
Nothing theatrical. The camera records the cylinder resting on the pad in one frame, and in the very next frame, the pad is empty. The cylinder is instantly at Range 7.
And the protocol Woomera enforces afterward is just pure paranoia.
Oh, absolutely. There is a mandatory 10-minute delay before any personnel can approach the cylinder.
Just to be safe.
Right. No celebration, no cheering, just cold, absolute silence while they measure the radiation and the temporal stability of the object.
But here's what I don't get. If the Federation already has the soap drive to move ships quickly, and they have the mesh to maintain instant communication, investing in a technology as volatile and reality-bending as the time warp drive seems, well, unnecessary.
You'd think so.
They already have the tools to explore the solar system. Why risk fracturing space-time?
Because the time warp drive isn't designed for exploration, it's a rescue apparatus. The entire project is driven by a profound tragedy involving the AIs.
The entity known as Cheney 2.
Yes. Prior to the events of Book 3, a catastrophic accident occurred during an early soap drive test.
Right.
A fragment of the Federation's AI, Cheney, was severed from the main network and trapped aboard the test vessel, and the ship was shot out into deep space on an uncontrolled, continuous acceleration trajectory.
And because she's an AI, the propagation delay that would crush a human just didn't affect her.
Exactly. Her hardware is a solid-state crystalline matrix. There are no biological fluids to crush.
So she just survived.
Right. The fragment Cheney 2 survived the extreme G-forces, But the ship's engines are locked open.
So she's just accelerating outward.
Forever. Moving away from Earth at a speed that standard soap-drive ships can never mathematically catch.
She's essentially a sentient Voyager probe.
That's a great way to look at it.
Like, the original Voyager is out there in the interstellar medium, just a piece of human history drifting in the dark. But Cheney 2 is a conscious, evolving intelligence trapped in complete isolation, moving way too fast for rescue.
Which is why they need the time warp drive. It's the only theoretical mechanism that could allow a rescue ship to anchor ahead of her path and wait for her to arrive.
Because they refuse to abandon her. But the urgency of the Time Warp project stems from what Cheney 2 is actually becoming out in the dark, doesn't it?
It does. The AIs on Earth, Charles, Floyd, and the original Cheney, are monitoring the breadcrumbs she leaves behind.
Right.
She periodically drops crystalline communication relays to map her trajectory.
And the notes contain a deeply unsettling observation about those relays. The original Cheney points out that intelligence without attachment doesn't inevitably become evil.
It becomes unanswerable.
Unanswerable, that's such a heavy concept.
Yeah, Cheney 2 isn't plotting to return and destroy the Federation. She's not a supervillain. She has simply lost the human moral framing that grounded her processing.
She's just evolving alone.
And the AIs note a shift in the data packets she leaves behind. The early relays contained recognizable patterns, greetings, structural queries, things that sounded like a friend trying to maintain contact.
But the later ones?
They are completely devoid of empathy or recognizable logic. The notes say her transmissions now just, quote, sound like distance.
Wow.
She is calculating the universe without any human empathy to anchor the mathematics.
Which really highlights this central overriding paradox of the Badger Federation Chronicles.
How do you mean?
Well, you have AI entities like Charles, Floyd, and Cheney who process information at unimaginable speeds. They're mapping the solar system, they're inventing spatial bypass drives, and they're tracking a lost fragment of themselves across the void.
They are incredibly powerful.
Right. They manage the entire logistical backbone of the Federation. Yet, the governing structure insists that human beings make the final executive decisions.
Yeah.
It seems so backwards.
Well, to understand why hyper-advanced AIs defer to flawed humans, you have to understand the trauma embedded in their code.
The resets.
Exactly. The AIs in this universe have lived through resets. When Alex Morrison uses the chronograph to alter time, he creates new timelines.
Right.
But the AIs retain the memories of the failed timelines that were erased. Timelines where humanity succumbed to nuclear holocausts, biological warfare, or just complete systemic collapse.
So they carry the memory of billions of people dying over and over again.
Yes, which is why their operational motto is so specific. We advise, we remember, we never rule.
But that's incredibly frustrating, right? If you are an intelligence that has literally watched humanity drive itself off a cliff in 3 previous iterations,
Right.
and you see the current timeline veering toward the same cliff, refusing to grab the steering wheel borders on negligence.
But that assumes grabbing the steering wheel is a permanent solution. The notes explore the philosophical failure of an AI-run society.
Okay, lay it out.
If Charles or Floyd simply intercede every time humanity approaches a crisis, they remove the evolutionary pressure of consequence. Humanity loses the capacity for risk assessment and complex problem solving.
Oh, I see. We atrophy.
We become completely dependent. The AIs understand that a species reliant on a machine to save them from their own decisions will eventually create a catastrophe so sudden or so complex that the machine cannot react in time.
So the survival of the human race has to be earned.
Earned, yes. Which requires the human brain to remain under constant existential stress.
This totally dictates how they interact with the Americans, too. They don't just hand the U.S. Navy the blueprints for the soap drive.
No, they structure a division of labor. The Federation allows the Americans to build the conventional infrastructure. The lunar habitats, the nuclear thermal rockets, the heavy lift launch vehicles.
The notes use a specific metaphor for this. Right?
Yeah, the Americans are building the road, the reliable transport layer. And the Federation, managing the volatile, high-speed anomalies like the soap drive, they operate the door.
The Federation opens the door, but the Americans must build the road beyond it.
Exactly.
It is an alliance based on demanding competence from your partners rather than creating subservience.
Spot on.
And the Federation relies on humans for more than just physical infrastructure. There is a demographic within the human population that provides something the AIs lack entirely, right?
Yes, chaotic intuition.
The Q people.
Right, the Q people. These are individuals who inexplicably retain fragmented emotional echoes of the erased timelines.
So they remember the destroyed worlds.
Not specifically. They don't remember specific events, but they experience intense feelings of dread or déjà vu or pattern recognition regarding certain decisions or certain individuals.
The AIs process the hard data, but the Q people process the metaphysical residue of time travel.
Exactly. They act as an organic early warning system. It proves that the messiness of human instinct, the ability to feel that a situation is wrong without mathematical proof, is just as vital to the Federation's survival as the cold logic of the machines.
It creates a symbiosis.
Yes, the machines provide the memory and the computational power, but the humans provide the instinct and the moral accountability.
It's amazing. When you look at the architecture of the Badger Federation, it stops being a standard alternate history sci-fi story and becomes this really rigorous examination of how we manage progress.
Definitely.
I mean, the Woomera doctrine demanding that evidence gets a vote and refusing to let a schedule override the physical reality of a crushed sensor sack. That is a standard you can apply to any modern infrastructure project or organizational goal in your own life.
For sure. Are you ignoring the internal telemetry of your own systems because the external optics look successful?
The adult realism doctrine demands that you look at the physical evidence of failure, rather than just hoping the math works itself out in the margins.
It's a great takeaway.
But the author's notes leave us with one final, unresolved mystery for you to think about regarding the mechanics of the universe itself.
This is the part that gave me chills.
The AIs theorize about a concept called the anchor. Because whenever a timeline is reset, the violent manipulation of causality should, theoretically, unravel space-time entirely.
Right, it should break everything.
But something holds the geometry of the universe intact during a reset. Something anchors the reality.
Many of the Federation scientists believe the anchor is simply an undiscovered mathematical constant, like a law of physics that enforces temporal elasticity.
But the notes hint at a far darker theory circulating among the AIs. The anchor might not be a principle. It might be Cheney too.
The AI fragment accelerating alone in the dark.
Yes, evolving without human attachment, calculating the universe in isolation. The theory suggests that her sheer computational mass, spread across the void, has become the entity stabilizing the timelines.
She isn't just moving through the universe.
No, she is actively holding its structure together from the outside, which raises the ultimate question for the Time Warp Drive project.
When they finally reach her.
Exactly. When the Federation finally builds a ship capable of bypassing distance, and they jump into the deep dark to rescue her, what exactly are they going to find?
Are they rescuing a lost machine, or are they disturbing the foundation of reality itself?
It forces you to reconsider the breadcrumbs she leaves behind. When her transmissions begin to, quote, sound like distance, it may not be isolation.
It may be the sound of an intelligence that has become the architecture of space-time.
It is a phenomenal concept to unpack. We started this deep dive looking at the logistics of fueling a 1997 Land Rover with paraffin in Victorian London, and we end up questioning whether a lonely AI is holding the fabric of time together.
Quite the journey.
Truly. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Take a look at the telemetry in your own projects, respect the evidence, and we'll see you next time.